All right, good morning, class. As you know, we've been working very hard this week getting us ready for our fishbowl activity today. And before we get started with that, we need to identify what it is we're going to do again and why it is important that we're having this conversation today. So our first question is the what? Our learning target is identifying the advantages and disadvantages that the American colonists had during the American Revolution. So I'm going to call on a few of you to share what your thoughts were. I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk to your table partner. So go ahead and ask that question. Remember, a lot of times we say sometimes just putting this in your own words, possibly synonyms are a good way to have you restate a learning target today. Great. Please turn and talk to your table partner.
What are some of the
some disadvantages are what the colonists have, how we understand disadvantages of the war. Then how life was back then. They also have
if we see the advantages and disadvantages, we see the struggle to the disadvantages and then
one of the other disadvantages was that they survived the Winter Valley Forge.
All right, one of the call-in responses we're going to use today, when I say American, you'll say revolution, and that's the way I'll help us get back to a full class conversation. So let's practice that. American
Revolution.
Very nice. All right, let's hear what your thoughts are on what is we're going to learn today. Allison, would you share, please?
So we're going to be doing, we're learning what the colonies had that the British didn't have, and what the British had that the colonists didn't have.
Oh, good. Anybody else want to share what we're going to learn today? What is the what? Put it in your own words. Let's hear from another one. E4. Morgan.
The hardships they had.
Good.
How they got over it.
Yes, nicely done. All right, let's move on to the why now. Why is it this is so important that we are going to discuss this today in our fishbowl? Again, turn and talk to your partner and be listening for the call and response.
So we can. It's important. What we're learning today is important to us because it helps us Americans the sacrifices that the earlier
So we're doing a lot, and we can see how America was formed.
Yeah, what people had to go through.
American Revolution. Nicely done. All right, Chris, would you please share what is the why? Why is this important?
This is important to me because as an American, it helps us appreciate what the earlier Americans have done for us, and it helps me reflect on what they have been through to help us where we are now.
Excellent. Good job. Good. Let me share with you kind of the teacher response to that one. The why it's important for us to... Hold on. The why... We have a little computer technical, the difficulties with the screen. So it helps us understand the risks that early Americans took to help us gain our independence. And it helps us lay the foundation of what it is that we still believe so strongly in today, and that is our freedom. So nicely done on our what, why, square. Good job today. I want to remind you, too, about varying transitions. So we kind of get caught up a lot of times saying, going off what he said or going off what she said. So kind of think about that. You should have that list in front of you, the seminar strategy phrases. That would be helpful to have that in front of you as well. So we've got a couple extra deaths that we don't need in here. So let's tighten up our circle a little bit. Go ahead and slide these out. Here, can I have you move this? Okay, let's tighten up that circle a little bit. Oh. There we go. Okay. I also want to remind you about being outside the circle. Your participation is still being evaluated, so make sure you're sitting by people that's going to allow you to focus on your presenter. Those of you that are taking notes or that are scoring, pay attention to the conversation and those details as well, because when we give our few minutes for coaching, you're going to want to know what's been covered already and what holes there are. I will tell you, first period did a great job, and I have the same expectations. I know you will too, because you guys did a really good job on our practice round. Darn, there's something I was going to add to that. I'll think of it. I will start us off with the question. Let me trade our slides up here so you'll have that. All right. So our question, and we're going to go, I know what I was going to tell you. There was more evidence than what we even had time for. So I'm feeling good about the evidence that you've collected. There should be plenty to be able to talk and share about today. So we'll go about 8-ish minutes, so a few minutes longer than we did during our practice round, just to give enough time for people, and then we'll stop and do our coaching break. Any questions before we get started? All right. So the question is, what were the advantages and disadvantages for the American colonists during the Revolutionary War?
To start off, on page 163, one of the disadvantages that the American colonies faced is that British had the strongest navy in the world at the time.
Another disadvantage is on page 167 in the winter of 1776 to 1777. It says that the colonial army had dwindled and some soldiers ran away.
Another disadvantage, adding on to that, was that Great Britain had more wealth.
And adding on to that, British had a much larger population than on page 163.
They did have more wealth, but then at the end of the, as they started fighting more, and it's like mentioned throughout the whole page, they kind of like got lowered numbers, and then like in the video, for example, they're saying how many years due to smallpox they lowered too, so then it almost equaled up, but not.
Along with small numbers, they also had poor training, as it was showing in the first section.
To add on what Peyton said, the colonies also had loyalists that were so loyal to the king on page 163.
Going off of what Peyton said, but also, and near the end of the war, von Steuben taught Washington's army about hygiene and discipline, which really got them nuts.
That's what.
You can go. Adding on to the people like the loyalists, another disadvantage was that the Quakers were neutral, so they weren't on either side, which was a disadvantage because they weren't helping people, and I got that on page 164.
Another advantage is that African Americans were allowed to enlist, and 5,000 African Americans joined the war for the Patriots, and that's on page 167.
Another advantage is that when they were fighting, the redcoats were easy targets because their coats are bright, and that was on page 169.
The colonists were also funded by French in their war, even before they became allies, and I found that on page 171.
On page 164, the colonists fought on their own territory, and they were led by George Washington.
I agree with Chris, but the other thing is they were outnumbered by hundreds of redcoats.
Building on what Chris said, they were on their own soil, and they had sharpshooters in the forest when the British went through. And I found that in Wilbur.
I was just going to make a note or a side comment that I found in 6.3 pages, that they had convinced the Native Americans to help them, and so that's how they partially got through, which also gave them numbers, and so they didn't have them.
Lily, although your opinion may seem right, but in the video Story of Us in the section Wilderness, the Americans knew the valley more than the British did.
Moving on, a good advantage for the Patriots on 171 is that Ben Franklin went to Paris and tried to get people's support and tried to get everyone sending money to America.
Going along with what Gino said, they also had 5,000 African Americans who helped them in the war, and that was found on page 167 in the book.
A lot of the Britain's enemies they had made also chimed into their wars. It said in Secret Strategies, I think.
On page 171, it says that the French and Americans side and they sent money and troops to the soldiers.
Adding on to what she said, they also gave the Americans 5,000 French soldiers to help the colonies.
and I found that on page 183.
Another advantage is that the colonists were a lot more willing to fight because Great Britain was just fighting for like their job, but the colonists were fighting for freedom and for their lives, and that was in New York Defeated. Movie notes.
Moving on.
You guys do.
Okay. Building on what Ali said, they had people like Nathan Hale and Thomas Paine who were helping them out and who were really determined to have them win the war.
Moving on to a disadvantage, on page 175, it said that some loyalists spied on the Patriots and informed the British.
And the loyalists also changed sometimes throughout the war when they realized what they were doing to like farms, and even in the beginning of the chapter in 163 they said that loyalists in New England were lowering on numbers too, just because of what they were seeing.
Along with being disloyal, like the loyalists, going against the Patriots, during Valley Forge, a lot of the soldiers deserted Washington, and I found that on page 172.
My idea is related to what Jalen said about the British having different spies. The rebels also had a lot of spies, and they had a lot of different ways to like send them information, like invisible ink that the redcoats didn't know about, and that was in the movie notes.
Going along with what Ali said about people helping them, on page 185 it talks about how the Spanish aided the Patriots by attacking the British at the Mississippi Valley.
All right, I'm going to pause you right here for just a second. I'd like those of you that have not spoken yet, take 10 seconds or so, look at your notes, and have a point ready to interject. Okay, there's a few of you we haven't heard from yet. I want to give you this opportunity. Aaron, we're going to start with you. Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
The British armies were trained for open field combat.
Good. Someone else has another chance here.
Going off what Aaron said, I have an advantage, and the Americans had technology on their side, and I found that in the movie notes.
With the advanced, oh sorry, were you
No,
saying
go ahead.
something? Okay, thank you. With the advanced technology, they also learned how to use the bayonets, and that's how they helped them defeat the British in one of the battles. And that was in movie notes.
What she said, the American rifles had technology like the rifling on the inside.
Good. Couple more that haven't shared yet. Let's give them a chance before we break.
Moving on to a new topic, the British made the cannon, the ships, when they attacked New York, they had like 64 cannons on these ships, which that's why they defeated New York. And that was in the intro.
Alex?
One advantage the colonies had was that they made 13 warships to end the British blockade in the seas, and I found it on 177.
Sabrina?
One disadvantage was that at winter at Valley Forge, there was no house in the cold winter for about 14,000 men.
Good.
Another disadvantage that relates with Sabrina's topic is that the soldiers face smallpox.
Another
In the video Story of Us, in the section where at Valley Forge.
Another disadvantage is that the colonists were outnumbered 2-1, and that was in the movie notes. New York is defeated.
One disadvantage that was at winter at Valley Forge was that 1/5 of the soldiers had no shoes.
Building off of what Alex said earlier, most of the warships that were made for the Americans were either destroyed or stolen by Great Britain.
Going back to winter at Valley Forge, there was hardly any food left for all of them.
Going along with what Liam said, a lot of people also deserted them, and another point is that the colonists couldn't fully finance themselves either.
All right, we're going to pause there for our coaching corner. So go ahead and meet with your coach, find out how you're doing, and talk about evidence. Good job, Erin.
Try to be a little more aggressive, know that people want to talk, and then possibility just like include other characters. Oh, you have 2.
All right, American. Oh, try that again. American. Revolution. Thank you. Go ahead and return back to your seats. So would you raise your hand if you have met the standard? Okay, met the standard. So those of you that have your hands up, I need you to kind of step back now and let others have a chance to work to that same standard. So who would like to have the opportunity to start it off? Liam, thank you.
So this is an advantage, and it's that the Americans killed the Native American scouts and killed the officers, so the British had no leadership, and that was found in the movie notes.
Another advantage that I found, that's not really related to, it's more related to the British Navy, is since the Navy was so powerful in like the water, obviously, they had American like privateers, which were like private ships that they found, worked better than the American Navy, and so they ended up winning basically that war that they had, or battle in the sea, which was a benefit to them.
But then again, also the French and Spanish Navy helped.
Yes.
Going off of what you can go.
Going along with what Liam said, the American colonies also targeted Indian guiders towards the British, and I found that in the movie notes.
Right along with what Sabrina said earlier, in Winter Valley Forge, there was also freezing temperatures and housing.
Going along that in Winter Valley Forge, Lauren Heavy died from smallpox.
To contrast with what you just said, they also invented a sort of cure to smallpox in the wildlife section.
I've noticed something. It seemed that right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. It seemed that Brady wanted to say something.
Going along with what Sabrina said, the Patriots also got France to secretly send them money to help them.
Adding on to Winter at Valley Forge, Washington took a chance on being very stubborn, and it ended up benefiting them. And I found that in the Winter at Valley Forge movie notes.
Okay, our last minute.
Going off of what Megan said, I found that the smallpox was an invention because they found somewhat of a cure to it, and the British didn't, so they're not affected by it anymore. And I got that from the movie notes.
Moving to
Oh, you may go.
moving to like the end of the war, by the end, Washington's army had reinvented itself. They had a spy network, new clothes, new weapons, and French ships with them, which was a big advantage and helped them win.
Moving on to like sort of like the beginning-ish of the war, since a lot of men were leaving, women had to take over like ranches and stuff, and food prices ended up going up by 800%, which made colony life more difficult. That was in the movie notes.
Focusing on a different point, on page 185 in the book, section 6.4, it talks about how the British ships were blocked at port. One of the disadvantages I found was that 9 out of 10 colony troops, died on British prisoner of war ships, and that's 3 times more than the war.
Going to more towards the end of the war, Frederick von Steuben helped
adding on to what Lily was pretty much saying about how they were blocking it as an advantage in the very end of what I found in 6.4 on page 184, the British ended up having to promise to withdraw the troops from like the expanded American lands, and then them blocking off the forts, so pretty much them winning back their land and everything.
Go ahead.
To add on to Colbert also with the Spy Clan also warned Britain about the British fleets.
All right. We'll stop it there. Nicely done, group. Go ahead and switch roles with your partner. Start jumping in there at the end. Which one? Oh, yeah, don't work on I'm so scared. Who are you doing? So Lauren, you're in. Madison, you're in this time. Where's Madison? There you are. Yeah, right there. So we kind of had a little switch. I want to make sure everybody has an evaluator. So would you please say who it is?
Braden.
Allie.
Allie. Elena.
Chase.
Who's your evaluator? Allie. Who's evaluating you? Right, so here's the problem we have. Yeah, so give it to Morgan. Jacqueline, who's yours? Peyton.
Leah.
Good. So Lauren, who's doing yours? Chris. Okay, so everybody's got one. Do we have enough seats for everybody? We need another desk. Slide back your desk so we can pull one more in. Here, especially kind of you got a little extra room on your side. Let's get Chase in the circle. Did I miss somebody in that? Who's evaluating who? Oh, who's got? Aaron. Oh, Aaron. Good. Okay, sorry. All right. Yes.
Are we not allowed to say the stuff that the previous
No,
group
it's
had?
wide open again. And there was a lot of information we had yet to hear. So if you can really pull that new information out, that'd be great, but you don't have to. There was just a lot left unsaid that we can add to that circle. Do you want to start? Yeah. Okay. Lana's going to kick it off. Our question again. What were the advantages and disadvantages of the American colonists during the American Revolution?
An advantage the American colonists had is that they had General George Washington to lead them.
In addition to that, with logistics and supplies, on page 185, the Americans already had their goods because they were defending their own territory, whereas the British had to haul goods across the sea in ships and then across the terrain, which could be rough.
And to add on to both of what they said, General Rochambeau joined General Washington on page 183.
Adding on to what Lana said, in the winter, Washington caught the British off their guard in the winter, and then was able to attack them because he caught them off their guard. That was page 165.
Another advantage for the American colonists was that America gained help from the French and Spanish armies, and that was on page 185.
To progress with the military and logistics idea, Baron von Steuben helped drill the Americans upon this information on page.
Going off what Jackson said, in the video notes it said that they used new tactics such as hiding in trees to help catch the British off guard.
To add on to Lauren's idea, George Washington was a big advantage. One of the things that he did was created a vaccination for smallpox, and I found that in the video notes.
To add on to what Jacqueline said, George Washington was their general and leader, and they also had Isaac, which was a gun owner that taught people how to shoot guns and so they could get aim.
A disadvantage for the American colonists was most Native Americans Americans sided with the British, and they actually knew the land, so they were a big help to the British and a disadvantage to the Americans.
Another disadvantage is that British had the strongest navy in the world, and they had a very experienced army.
You continue.
Okay, I agree with Jasmine because also British had a giant population compared to America at the time, which I found on page 163.
Okay. Back to what Chase said about their guns, is an advantage they had was that the guns had grooves on the inside of their barrels, which made it deadly accurate from a farther distance, so they could attack the British with different tactics that they had not seen before.
Adding to what Jasmine was saying about the British military is that they also used mercs, which weren't as motivated as the colonists. The Continental Army was. I found this information on page 164.
I really like.
It seems like Hudson wanted to talk.
I really like Nathan's idea about the grooves and the rifles, and also what helped them is because they knew the land, the frontiersmen, and then they brought a new type of war to the British because they used guerrilla warfare. I found this in the movie notes in the wilderness.
To add on to what Nate was talking about, they had not only the grooves, but they had new technology like the bayonets that they created to really get them to go and defeat the British in the war, and I got that from the video notes.
To disagree with Jacqueline and their technology, British had more ships and more supplies, so they kind of, even though it wasn't as nice, they still had more stuff. It was overpowering.
Adding to Nathan's idea, Nathan's conversation about rifling the long rifles, they also used 50 caliber balls, which were extremely powerful.
Adding on to what Nathan said about the Patriots' techniques during battle, the Patriots used a hit-and-run technique of guerrilla warfare to catch the British off guard. I found that on page 179.
Going off what Jacqueline said about having the advantage, they also had African Americans who were more motivated to fight because they were fighting for their freedom, and I found that on page 167.
Going off of what Jackson said, the guns can also shoot 250 feet away, and I got that from the review.
Also adding on to what Jacqueline said, in that battle, all of the British troops, 1 out of 11 went.
Though Chase disagreed with me, I do agree with his point that the Americans were outnumbered. They were outnumbered 2-1, and I also got those from the video notes.
I agree with Jacqueline, except that the British were trained for open battlefields, so when they fought with the Americans in woods, they were kind of at a disadvantage, which I found in the wilderness section of the movie notes.
I believe that all of the British outnumbered the colonists by a lot. The colonists were really smart, so then when they were shooting the leaders of the groups of the British lost 1,000 men after the sharpshooters took out the leaders.
Adding on to what Hudson said, the Patriots sharpshooters also took out the Native Americans because they actually knew the land. They found that in the wilderness section.
All right, if you've had a chance to speak, I want you to step back now and give a few that we haven't heard from yet. So here's your chance. If you haven't had a chance, jump in there.
It seems like you wanted to say something.
I don't know. Back to what Hudson said. The Patriots got to sneak up on the British Army and killed the officers, which meant that the British had died, so they were just
Adding on to what Carl and Hudson said earlier about their tactics in the wilderness section of the the movie, the American colonists used trees as roadblocks to prevent the British from hauling all of their supplies through the woods. Also, Armeko, it seemed like you wanted to say something.
For the British warship, they're big, but
John Paul Johnson destroyed most of their ships in the British file by using smaller ships to go faster than the warships.
To bring up a new point, on page 175, it references that the privateers were basically hired out to sea missionaries and they destroyed British ships for the Americans because they really were very small at the time.
Moving on to the effects on the town of New York, a lot of men went off to war and women were left at home, causing money inflation by like 800%. And I got that on page 74, and I think that's a disadvantage to the families of the soldiers.
Also adding on to what Jacqueline said, 20% of New York was loyalists.
Going off what Colin said, they also had spies in New York to help the British, which is a disadvantage to the Americans, and most of those spies were loyalists.
That's a valid point, but also the Patriots had lots of spies too, which were using like invisible ink and stuff to get their notes to Washington.
Adding on to what Hudson said about the spies, they used these secret methods of transporting all the information by hiding it and having someone else take it, and then also using clothing as a code. That was towards the end of the movie notes when they were about the strategy. There was a secret strategy to attack the British.
A few advantages the American colonists had is that they had sharpshooters, training, discipline, new weapons, and spies.
Another advantage of another disadvantage for the colonists was that the Redcoats had 6 times more experience than a single patriot, and I found that in the New York is defeated part of the story of that movie.
All right, we're going to pause right there for our Coach's Corner. Go ahead and talk to your coach, find out how you're doing. I'm going to have you kick it off.
I know, right? I know. They'll be like, hey.
And then maybe I have that. You don't cover all the stuff. You can come back to that one again and add more elaborate.
Also, I feel like when you talk, yeah, what we talked about.
I already talked about them. That's good.
Okay, American
Revolution.
Would you raise your hand if you have met the standard? Met the standard. Yeah, there should be a few more hands up there, so I'm a little surprised. Raise your hand if you've met the standard. If your person's not raising their hand. Okay, so let me try that again. Met or exceeded the standard. Let's go that way. So Jacqueline, really? You're not there yet?
I didn't cite for one of them, and I've only talked.
Okay, hey, so I'm going to clarify that just for sake of time, and so we can work towards that standard. If they just forgot to say a page number, but that you know they gave text-based evidence, please give them the mark on that one. I'm not as worried about that because this is all text-based evidence. I'm not going to get too worried about whether you said the page number or the movie. So there's a few that need an opportunity, so I'm going to ask those of you that are doing well on this one to kind of back off a little bit and let a few chime in that haven't had a chance yet. So Madison's going to kick us off. Go for it, Madison.
In this section, Winter Valley Front was a disadvantage, right? The Patriots suffered like losses from freezing temperatures, and
also 2,000 men were sick. I know that from the movie.
Sorry, you go. They also didn't have like any clothes to the point where they were like fully naked.
Okay, so going off what Maddie said, they also lost a lot of soldiers because they would leave just because they were done with it. They wanted to go back.
disadvantage the American colonists had was that the prisoners on the ship, it was 1 in 50 will die from the smallpox.
To add on to what Maddie and Sam said, they were getting really discouraged from all the people dying and the lack of resources. So the only people that really kept them going was their motivation for freedom.
Adding on to what Lana said, 4 in 10 victims don't survive smallpox that reach Valley Forge.
Yes, there was also mentioned because George Washington did the vaccine thing by trying to send smallpox into a healthy person, and that lowered the rate of death.
I agree with Maddie because in my notes it says that 1 in 50 only died after they were given it, and that helped reduce the numbers. Which is in the movie.
I agree with what Nathan said, and I think George Washington's support for freedom helped a lot when he made the Declaration of Independence, which motivated a lot of the soldiers and Americans to fight. Which I got that from the video.
Moving on to some disadvantages, in the town, 1 in 5 women were prostitutes, and they had to feed their family, which was very hard for them because of the 800% increase in inflation, and I got that from the movie.
All right, I'm going to pause this for just a second because I'm noticing our time. What I want to do is just kind of do a quick little wrap up. Would you talk to your table partner again? What was it? What did this target mean to you today? Talk to your table partner.
Oh man.
Who's your elbow partner?
Okay, so what it meant to me, especially, was just learning how we came from farmers, crazy people, to how the best, most powerful army in the entire world.
All right, American Revolution. Thank you. We're getting good at that. Allison, what did we learn today? What does this mean to you?
We learned about how we struggled in the war and what advantages we had as well. So and what Britain had as an advantage as well.
Good. One little wrap up. Talk to your partner again. Why was this important today that we covered this topic?
To know what people are going through to get us what we have today, privileges and all that.
Hey, American Revolution. Thank you. Lily, what's the why? Why did we have to do that? Or why were we doing that today? What did we get out of that?
So we know our history.
Yeah, so what we can do, how we're living now is because of what they did then. Good. Nice job today. We're going to stop it there. We'll fine tune this and kind of wrap it up.